Coming up on this episode of Speaking Out, we're talking about our own MSU campus. Have you ever noticed the huge Native American influence? We're going to be talking about that on two fronts. All that and more coming up. Hello, and welcome to Speaking Out. I'm Tristan Lacey. The purpose of this show is to educate you on the different cultures and expressions and to be inclusive and connected to our community. Today, we will focus on Native American culture found here on our campus. Now, have you ever noticed the campus landmarks? We have the Believers found by the Coliseum, and there's also the Gates of Hercules found towards the front of campus. Well, what you probably have never noticed is the huge amount of Native American culture that we have found here on our campus. The place where we meet for Maverick T. Mustang's birthday celebration is Sunwatcher Plaza. It sits right between Clark Student Center and Proto-Jaeger College. Now, the plaza is headed by the Sunwatcher statue. Now, the Sunwatcher statue was chosen by the Ex-Students Association to commemorate the 75th anniversary of MSU. Now, the statue was built to exemplify the progressive academic spirit of the university. Kiowa elders were part of the dedication ceremony. They sung tribal hymns, and Kiowa elder Jakor Atone addressed the crowd. Now, the streets on campus are painted with maroon and gold, but there have ties to the Native American culture as well, including the intersections that house our library, Coliseum, and even the new wing of Lamar D. Fain College. We have rooms inside of our Clark Student Center that have ties to the Native American culture as well. There are conference rooms and meeting rooms dedicated to student involvement and common areas used for eating, studying, including our own food court. Now, we are a school that shows true levels of just spirit. We love our MSU. But before 2006, that spirit was led by a different mascot. Now, in the beginning, MSU was known as the Indians. We started as Hardin Junior College in 1922, and the men's basketball team created our mascot, the Indians. And the name stuck for almost 80 years. Now, in response to backlash from Native Americans some time later and their portrayal as mascots, the NCAA invoked a new policy in 2005 to prohibit NCAA colleges and universities from displaying hostile and abusive racial, ethnic, national origin mascots, nicknames, or imagery at any of the 88 NCAA championships. Walter Harrison was the chair of the executive committee that issued that policy. He states, "Colleges and universities may adopt any mascot that they wish, as that is an institutional matter. But as a national association, we believe mascots, nicknames, or images deemed hostile or abusive in terms of race, ethnicity, or national origin should not be visible at the championship events that we control." The change also affected student organizations who attended those games. Mascots, cheerleaders, dance teams, band uniforms, and paraphernalia promoting or displaying abusive references were prohibited in August of 2008. Finally, institutions with student athletes wearing uniforms or having any paraphernalia with abusive or racially offensive references must ensure that those uniforms or paraphernalia are not worn or displayed at any of the NCAA championship competitions. Now, next, there is a video courtesy of YouTube and BuzzFeed explaining the issues Native Americans feel as they see representations of their race and culture as a mascot. Take a look.
To make this any other racial group where you do a ridiculous caricature like that, people get it right away. Ooh, that's racist. But for some reason, when they see this one, everyone's like, well, yeah, that's our team.
I was a band geek in high school, so I'm not really familiar. I know of it.
I've watched a fair amount of ESPN Sports Center in my day.
I don't think it's very historically accurate.
Don't understand why we need to be a mascot.
Native American people don't look like this.
I don't understand what the hair is.
He looks nice, yeah, he looks really kind.
That looks like a child did it.
They don't do this with anyone else but animals and Native Americans.
It bothers me that like one of the symbols that people recognize about our people is a weapon.
This is this weird, outdated view of what it means to be
Native.
We only brought those out in defense of ourselves, our land, our people.
You see the Atlantic Games and they're doing the ooh.
Perpetuates one very specific and very outdated image.
Oh, the Redskins.
This is a dictionary-defined racial slur.
Literally painted him red.
And they have eagle feathers on here, and those are very sacred to a lot of tribes.
I can't imagine any other race where that would be considered acceptable.
Having a team named after a racial slur.
People say, yeah, but we have such a strong history with the Washington Redskins. We kind of have a history too. It kind of predates that.
It makes me want to cry.
I don't even know where to begin.
He looks like Mr. Burns, kind of.
And he's completely red. Are you kidding me?
That's the color of a fire truck.
He looks like the Indian guy who's about to sneak into camp and steal your horses.
This is another one that really depersonalizes our people.
The fact that a people group is your mascot, like that's just not okay.
It's just weird, because then everybody shows up acting like a stereotypical version of that race. They're really not trying to be mean in any way. It's still contributing to the fact that people are supporting this team looking like this.
When I look at those pictures, it breaks my heart.
We don't need to have like human beings represented as mascots.
And they're like, nah, you don't know what you're talking about.
Well, a lot of them say they're just honoring us.
I don't feel honored.
I don't think it's honoring us in the least. It's very hurtful.
It's not always just about you and how you feel. It's about the people who are involved. It's about the people whose feelings are being affected by this.
The individuals in that video have a great point. Mascots based on an individual's race or culture could be very disrespectful and the furthest thing from an honor, especially when those names are derogatory or offensive terms. For example, if there was a professional league team or a college university with slaves as the mascot and the logo was a black man or woman picking cotton, would that be okay? Imagine that on a field or on a sideline. Now, some may consider it to be different from mascots such as the Braves or the Blackhawks, but it still represents the same issue. Fans depict Native Americans with war cry, throwing tomahawks, and Native American dress in honor of a team and not in honor of the culture. This is viewed by many Native Americans as disrespectful and feel as if a mockery of the culture instead of an honor. Now, I went out to MSU to get stories on the Native American influence here and the culture displayed on our campus. Take a look. Western State University has displayed and showcased the school's relations to Native American culture throughout history.
It's rare for me to have an alumni event that somebody doesn't, break out, nah, 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 nah. Somebody will say something.
Was a melody often heard after the fight song to encourage our athletes some years ago. This tune is not to be confused with A piece of MSU history tells us that the Kiowa tribe blessed the campus back in the 1950s. Leslie Ponder, Alumni Engagement Liaison, graduated from MSU in 1986. She was Director of Alumni Relations when the NCAA asked MSU for a self-evaluation about the campus and its ties to the mascot at the time.
There were 18 different racially offensive mascots in colleges and universities, us being one of them. We reached out to the Kiowa Indians. There were very few still alive. We didn't have a real relationship per se with the Kiowa tribe. They couldn't hardly even find anybody to come back. They did give us their blessing, but it was not allowed to.
There was a Native American Student Association, but it was disbanded due to a lack of members. Maya Cook of Ho-Chunk heritage was one of the many Native American students who was looking for a student organization to represent their culture.
We used to have a whole student organization devoted to Native American students, but you don't see it anymore. It's not really publicized. Be able to come back. I think that we should be able to have more representation on campus because we have like the little things that are still around of the Native American influence. We should all be able to feel more comfortable in this space.
Across the nation continue to have discussions about how they can educate and promote different ethnicities and cultures present in today's United States. Now, here at MSU, we are surrounded by Native American history and culture on a constant basis, yet most people don't consciously think about it on their day-to-day lives. Now today we have with us the president of the Red River Intertribal Club, Jim Moore, to talk about how we can acknowledge and connect with the history and culture on campus and in our community. Thank you for coming out today.
Good to be here.
How are you doing today?
Just fine, just fine. I'm all set.
Happy to be back on campus?
Oh, sure.
Now, for those who don't know, you attended here back when Midwestern State University used to be called Midwestern University, go move, and you graduated in 1974 with your business degree.
Right.
Now, can you tell us about the campus atmosphere back then and how expressive the Native American culture was at that time?
It was well accepted. Believe it or not, there was lots of spirit. There's posters and programs, such as on mass media, that were always focusing on spirit. And they used the mascots fairly well. Unfortunately, some people have their own interpretation of what those mascots should look like or how they are portrayed. If those groups do not have close ties to the tribes that they are attempting to imitate, then they kind of lose the culture and create something such as Hollywood has created. It's kind of a false portrayal, if you would.
Okay. Now, the last president of the Native American Student Association graduated in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
And since then, the group has lost its formal recognition from MSU as a student organization here. So back then, when they were still here on campus,
mm-hmm.
how involved was the organization with the Native American community as well on campus?
Well, it's kind of started with our club. Actually, we have some students that wanted to actually start a club, so we backed them. It was in 2003, I believe. My son was attending school here, and he was kind of the spirit person that stimulated some people into getting a group together and actually having a name. It was and still is the Native American Student Association of MSU. They are on Facebook. They have a presence there, but it's kind of cyclical, depending on the students and how busy they are. Studies always come first, and social get-togethers come by later, of course. And just the small amount of natives that really want to continue to follow their culture is getting less and less, even though we're becoming a smaller world because of the internet and all of the communications and all of the ease of transportation. But there are some that still want to preserve those spiritual, those cultural things. So that's one of the reasons why we wanted to have a place in Midwestern where some of those folks, no matter what tribe, would feel more at home, because there are people that have the same thoughts and feelings that others do and share those experiences with them.
Okay. And how could the Red River Intertribal Club be more of a, I guess the word would be, how could your organization be more of an educational outlet? How could we as students here at MSU learn more about the Native American culture and just become more educated on things that are disrespectful, or just know how MSU got to where it is now?
Sure. I think the library has quite a bit of information on the past history. I haven't been able to find a video that had Luis J. Rodriguez in it, and he described a lot of the history that went on as Midwestern University and the MU Indians. I do recall that in 1951, the Kiowa tribe came and blessed the campus. They have a custom of smoking, which some feel is just like witchcraft, but it's totally diverse from witchcraft. But it is a blessing that the smoke will purify the minds and bodies and the land as well. And they blessed the entire campus, and they blessed all of the faculty. And they gave the use of the name the Indians as approval to do that. So, like I said, if you lose ties with the group that you're emulating, you kind of lose track. And some of the things that we did back then weren't exactly palatable to the Native Americans up in Oklahoma. There are tons of natives in and around the Lawton area, simply because Fort Sill was the watchdog for the Kiowa Nation, the Comanche Nation, and the Apaches. They all had reservations there at one time. And if you lose touch with them, that's when the cartoonish type images come about. And the names, such as the savages. If you look in a dictionary, the word savage is a derogatory term about Native Americans. And I wish the team that chose that would have looked in the dictionary first to find that out. They didn't have to have a tribe or a tribal influence or an affiliation with the tribe to find that out. That is just like naming somebody a team, maybe the Scalpers, the Mohican Scalpers. That would have been highly derogatory. I understand they were trying to promote a fierce type of an attitude by choosing a mascot, but making them look derogatory in almost any way that wasn't really acceptable by Native Americans. It just sort of happened just like Hollywood does. They they like to make things interesting or unnatural at times, have heroes do things that aren't really possible. Anyway, it's just Hollywood has just kind of got way out of hand, but now they're actually starting to come back and portray more of a normalized Native American culture. Kevin Costner is a profound person that really likes to dig in to the history and find out the real customs and portray them on film.
You're right about that. I've seen a lot of his films where he does dive into that culture and tries to portray it. And I know sometimes a lot of people, when like I mentioned earlier, when you're trying to emulate a culture or emulate a nationality, it can come off as disrespectful to different people, because different people view their culture as a different way. So you just have to be careful when doing that. And final question is, what are future events coming up for your organization that could be of help for MSU students or anyone here in the community who wants to learn more about Native Americans?
Well, there's a lot of resources available in Oklahoma. There are powwows starting in March, almost every weekend, somewhere in Lawton or Anadarko or Apache, Oklahoma, El Reno. All of those areas have consistent powwows every weekend. And we like to go to those, we attend those. Sometimes we co-host those. In other words, we assist the staff there in putting on the powwow. Me personally, I like to get at the drum and sing with them. It's an overwhelming feeling. I guess it's like a spiritual happening when you happen to be in church and you feel that coming into you. Right. Anyway, you can find us up there a lot of times. We do the city events quite a lot, like the Frontier Days is an annual event. There's a Chicken and Bread in Bowie that we do. That's an annual event. Also the Archer City Heritage Days, and Iowa Park has Frontier Days. Also the Lake Arrowhead State Park usually has a Buffalo Soldier encampment, and we assist with them as well. There's just probably not a whole lot of large events that we go to that the student population might see. I can see that we could assist Midwestern by giving lectures. We could be in the classrooms, and when they get to the portion of American history where Native Americans are portrayed, they can actually talk to someone now that was related to, say, Quanah Parker and Chief Nocona. And that really would bring the local history a lot closer to the Midwestern students.
And, since New Age 2018, everything's on social media. Is there a social media account where we could go and find, any upcoming events or anything that might be going on with your organization?
Sure. We do have a Facebook page, Red River Intertribal Club. Okay. And we have about 1,200 followers right now. Okay. I do post on a daily basis powwows that are going on within the state of Oklahoma and within the state of Texas. Okay. And like I said, I post something every day that's coming up, whether it's a small powwow or a large one. Okay. And they can ask to join that, and I will certainly, I let almost anybody into it. So everyone's welcome. Also, there's a good Facebook page called the Oklahoma Powwow Trail, and they announce a lot of the powwows as well. But that's a good starting point, because it's just 60 miles away. We have a tremendous amount of activity going on.
Okay. And please go to Facebook and find the Red River Intertribal Club's page. You'll learn more about events coming up. And unfortunately, that's all the time we have. So, of course, I want to thank you, Mr. Moore, for coming in with us. We love having you here. And also, don't forget to follow me on Twitter at TRETHEMUSICIAN, that's Trade Musician, to get updates on the next episode. For Speaking Out, I'm Treston Lacey.